What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Valiant, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. Today, I have a special guest with me. He's the nighttime host on WFAN. He had the fan, the peak of sports radio. He hosts the BXB podcast with Chris McMonagle, and he makes content for Bleacher Report. I'm very happy to have Keith McPherson on the show today. Thanks for being here, Keith. What's going on?
What's up, Ben? Thanks for having me. You can't leave out talking Nets. I know we haven't done a podcast since the end of the last season when the Nets got swept, but I will be back for the fifth season of Talking Nets when the Nets get started playing. I think October 25th we'll have a podcast. But yeah, shout out to you for reaching out. You said you were a fan. You said you listened to my show, and like I just told you, the podcast game, man, that's where I got started. That's where I honestly went back and started to hone my craft. I obviously went to school, and everybody hears me talk about it on the radio that I graduated, in 2011 with a radio degree. But I did so many other things outside of my degree. And when podcasting got big was when I was like, okay, I can get reps. I can practice here. And at your age, I started podcasting, let's see, when I was like 31. So at your age, if you're getting the reps now and the experience now, it could bode well for your future and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So thanks for coming on again and taking time out of your day. I know you have a busy schedule with the fan. And as somebody who wants to be a sports broadcaster myself when I'm older, this is a huge moment for me. So I thought that we could do an NBA preview show, start out west, come across the country back to the east, and then bring it home with my Knicks and your Brooklyn
Yes, sir.
Nets. So let's start in the west. This offseason, we saw a lot of moves and a lot of talent being added to some of the bottom teams in the West. So, what's one West team that you think can surprise everybody and jump up the standings this year?
One West team that I think can surprise everyone. I don't think there will be any surprises, unfortunately. I'll give you a name as I start to think of the teams, but who's going to be at the top. You know that the Nuggets are going to be at the top. The Grizzlies added Marcus Smart; they're going to be at the top. Let me see. I think the Timberwolves. I think that in this next year with Ant-Man, with Karl Anthony Towns, with Gobert, I think that experience plays, reps plays, and they'll be better than an 8th seed. Even the Lakers. The Lakers are not supposed to finish in the 7th seed in the play-in tournament, but I don't think there's going to be many surprises. The Nuggets are going to be good. The Grizzlies are going to be good. The Kings are going to be good, and of course, the Phoenix Suns. Everybody's expecting to dominate with the addition of Bradley Beal to Kevin Durant at the second half of last season.
Yeah, that's a good point with the Timberwolves. I think they're gonna start to have Anthony Edwards be their leader and not Cat their main scorer anymore.
Yep.
You see the high flying dunks, the three pointers, and he's young and he's still developing. So that's going to be an interesting team. But I think that the Rockets, I don't know if they're going to be a 1 or a 2 seed, but I think they're going to be maybe a 5 through 10 seed. They added Fred VanVleet in the offseason. I know everybody hates Dylan Brooks, but they added him to go along with the Jalen Green and KJ Martin. I think they have a real shot to get into the playoffs and maybe even make a run.
Yeah. And can I add to that? What I'd add to that is they don't have to deal with Kevin Porter Jr. anymore. So that's going to be positive for the entire organization.
Yeah. So the Western Conference playoff picture has the potential to be way different from last year. And so what is one team that you could see falling off that was a top tier team last year?
One team to take a step back, the Warriors. I just think that they're getting older, and Chris Paul doesn't make them any better. And we saw that, you expect Steph to get it done, and you expect Draymond and Clay. It's just their time has passed. The Warriors dynasty dominated for so long. They were the 6th seed last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a playing team. I wouldn't be surprised if they're out of it. Yes, I'm doubting them. I just think that teams have gotten younger. They don't have Jordan Poole. I don't know if that's necessarily a positive. They used the top pick on Wiseman, and he's out of there. So, I just think that the Warriors, the game has started to pass them by. I think that the Warriors are old, and this is the last year that, with this crew, we'll see what they can do, but I don't expect them to be a championship contending team.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Steph Curry, he's going into his age 35 season. He'll turn 36 in March. Klay Thompson, he's already come back from two devastating injuries, the Achilles and the ACL. And you see, they're the first ones to bring the three-pointers into the game. But now everybody's shooting the three, and it's pretty much an even game. So for me, I think that the Grizzlies are going to fall off this year. Who knows
Okay.
what's going to happen with Ja Morant? He might still get in trouble after his first 25 game suspension. And um uh what's his name? Marcus Smart. He's not a real scorer. He's really a facilitator. And if say Ja Morant is out, they have nobody to score the ball. Jaren
Right.
Jackson Jr. is not going to give you 25 points a night. Smart's not going to give you 25 points a night either.
Desmond Bain, maybe.
Desmond Bain is a good one, but he's really just a knockdown 3-point shooter. And then I could really see them falling off.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that the whole John Morant thing was a huge distraction last year. They brought in Derrick Rose, who's not a factor on the court, but Derrick Rose said, I'm not here to be your babysitter. I'm here to push you. So they brought in a leader like Derrick Rose to try and get him right. It's all on John Morant this year, and I don't think the kid's got the headspace for it. I don't think he's there, and there's going to be a lot of eyes and attention and scrutiny on him. Back to the Warriors, they had to pay Draymond Green, and despite what you might think about Draymond Green, like paying Draymond Green at this juncture was basically them deciding to pay Draymond over Jordan Poole. Draymond's already hurt. Draymond Green, I think he had an injury. Yeah, I saw a couple days ago he had an injury in training camp. So he's getting up there in age. If they don't have Draymond, then that's someone they just invested in. I don't know. I think the Warriors are going to take a step back this year.
Yeah, I think so too. So let's head across the country and get to the East now. So the Bucks finished first in the East last season for the regular season. They added Damian Lillard in the offseason. A lot of people are saying that they're going to be the top team, no doubt. But another team that's added talent and is looking to make another run at it, the Boston Celtics. Who do you think finishes first in the East after the regular season?
The Bucks, the Bucks, the Bucks, the Bucks. The rich get richer. That's a term that I use on the radio a lot. The rich only get richer, which basically talks about like people once you're rich, like most people that are like wealthy, rich, established, they find more ways to make money. They add on to their business, they add on to their wealth. That's what they did with Giannis. And when you look at this team now, they were number one and they had a letdown. Obviously, they lost to Miami Heat. What were the chances of the Miami Heat playing themselves in, beating the Bucks? Giannis obviously got hurt in that series, and then making it all the way to the finals. They look at this as a window where Giannis is arguably the best player in the league. And Brook Lopez just won Defensive Player of the Year. And they have all of these auxiliary players like Pat Connaughton, like Chris Middleton, like Bobby Portis. So what do you do to get to get Giannis over the top? They added Drew Holiday 4 years ago or whatever that was, but like he's not a star player. You add a Damian Lillard to this team, and they're just going to be incredibly hard to defend. Now, what I'll say is this: I hate the Bucks. As a Nets fan, they were in the way of the one team that I thought could actually win it for the Nets. But that's the thing, right? The one team I thought was going to win it for the Nets, what happened to them? KD wasn't able to carry the team on his own. Why do you have to carry them on his own? Because James Harden had a hamstring, because Kyrie had an ankle. Injuries can come into play, and you got to stay healthy to go all the way. But I think they're going to dominate. I think with Giannis and with Dame, it's like pick your poison.
I mean, the one question I have for them is their perimeter defense. They lost Drew Holiday, who's an all NBA defender. I know they're going to be good down low. They have Brook Lopez to defend down there, and Giannis Antetokounmpo with all his length. But who's going to defend those wing guys? Who's going to defend the point guard? It's going to be a track meet every game for them. But that's the only question I have with the Bucks. So the Heat surprised everyone last year by going from the play-in tournament all the way to the NBA Finals. What is one team that you think can shock everyone from the East and be a contender?
One team that can shock everyone from the East and be a contender. I want to say the Chicago Bulls. I would have said the Cleveland Cavaliers because I really like their squad, but they were the 4 seed. But I think the Chicago Bulls, this is another year with LaVine, another year with DeRozan, and some of these other pieces that they have. If they put it all together this year, they shouldn't be a 10 seed. I mean, they had injuries and they had lapses. They're getting Lonzo back, who I don't think is really a factor. I think that the Bulls can be better than people are expecting them to be, and maybe make a run like the Heat did, as far as like getting in the play-in, getting the matchup they want, getting hot at the right time. They have obviously scorers that can take over a game, in the King of the North, DeMar DeRozan, and Veen. So I think the Bulls can be better this year than they were last year at 40 and 42.
I don't think Lonzo Ball is coming back this year, and that's going to be a problem for them. You saw how good they were in 2022 when they had that whole squad, and
Yep.
then he got hurt. They went to Milwaukee in the playoffs and they got smoked. But if they can get Lonzo Ball back, that's going to be one of the teams to beat in the East.
He's
Um,
around. He's like making videos showing that he's getting back to help. But that's why I said they have him, but he's not going to be a factor. It's going to be like Kobe White, was it Caruso. What's the dude with the braids that's got like the weird part in his hair from, I think he's got like alopecia or something. And then obviously they have Vucevic. Yeah, Kobe White, Laurie Markkinen, sleeper on that team.
no, Laurie
Or
Markkanen's on the
no,
Jazz.
why did I say Laurie Markkinen? Because I just googled Chicago Bulls roster, and for some reason Laurie Markkinen comes up. I know he's not with the Chicago Bulls. He went from the Chicago Bulls originally to the Cavs to the Jazz. But they've got some guys on that roster. Ayu Dosunmu, Patrick Williams is the name I was thinking of. They've got some guys on that roster that could play, and I think another year of them gelling and being together, they'll be pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's get to Manhattan and the Garden, where my New York Knicks play. So, when the Knicks made the playoffs in 2021, Julius Randle followed that season up with a very underwhelming season. Do you think that he's going to be that underwhelming player, or do you think that he's going to continue to be the all-star that he was last year?
The thing with Julius, like, back to health, he's got to stay healthy. But the thing about Julius is he has to realize who he is and what he is now that Jalen Brunson exists on that team. He's not the main guy. He is a guy that needs to step up and get his rebounds and his points, but you're taking a backseat to Brunson. It's his team. And I just think that Julius Randle sometimes wants to do things his own way, wants to try and take over the game too much. He's got to play more of a secondary role. Let Brunson lead the show. Let him be the star of the show. Let him lead the team. You've got guys, all these Villanova guys now. Now they got Delaware Jordan, Dante DiVincenzo, so he can be a shooter. Get the ball to your shooters. Evan Fournier claims that he's working hard to try and be in the fold. Maybe he can be a factor this year, but for the most part, it's Brunson, it's RJ, it's Randle, and Randle might even have to take a seat to RJ. Like, you're not the guy like that, bro. Like, you're not that guy, buddy. Like, let Brunson and let these young bulls run like the show. Let them go their own way, and you be there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I want to go back to what you said about Randall trying to take over the game. It really only happened last year when they were getting down in games. Like, it was fine when they were winning. Brunson would be facilitating, he would be passing, taking his own shots. But then when they started to get down, he would start trying to force shots that
Yep.
he shouldn't. And that's when the deficit started to get bigger and when Tibbs would pull him out of the game and let Brunson take over. Speaking of Jalen Brunson, he changed a lot for the Knicks last year. Do you think the Knicks will be able to maintain this success, or do you think it's going to be a one-year thing and they'll kind of just fall off?
Nah, that's the thing. Brunson's a competitor. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder since he wasn't an all-star last year and probably should have been. I think he's building on things with Tibbs and with that roster. I think they're taking another step forward this year. Now, I don't know if that means they go further in the playoffs, but I think maybe they win more games. I mean, there was still a stretch last year where they were losing games. There were still some laughable games. There was some that game where Luka, missed the free throw and came back, and like there were still some games where they had leads at the end, and in the beginning of the year they lost those games. So if they can get rid of those type of situations, I think the Knicks are going to be like right in the middle of the pack of the East.
Yeah, I think the biggest part about last season was when Tibbs cut the rotation from 11 guys down to 9. That's when everything really started to flow better and the offense just got kicked up and everything started going their way.
IQ, I think people forget to
My
mention
guy,
Emmanuel
that's
quickly.
my guy.
They missed his presence, him getting hurt in the end of the the Heat series, they
Yeah,
missed his presence. I think he takes another step forward. He showed you last year. I remember he balled on the Celtics. Like he showed you what he can
yeah.
do. So these guys
38
are
points in
older.
that
They're
double
another
overtime
year.
game.
Yep, they're another year older and experienced, and I think they're ready to go.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be able to sustain the success because you look at the roster. Josh Hart, he just signed a new deal for 2 years. Emmanuel quickly, they're going to have to sign him, but he's another young guy, and I'm sure Leon will be
He
willing to
wants
give
to
him the
stay. He's
money.
been vocal about wanting to stay.
Yeah. And Dante DiVincenzo, they just signed him. And then you go to Brunson. He's got 3 years left on his deal and looking to improve on last year. And so taking a hop, skipping a jump over to Brooklyn. So after your dynamic duo of Katie and Kyrie was shipped off at the deadline last year, the expectation for the season changed. And what were your thoughts on how last season unfolded?
Man, hated it. I thought it sucked. I honestly didn't want to talk about the team. I just, hated the fact that like the Brooklyn Nets sold their soul to KD and Kyrie, went the superstar route, and what did they get in return? One playoff series win. They won 7 playoff games. They were swept in back-to-back years out of the playoffs, and these guys were just able to get out of jail free. All right, bye. I'm going to Dallas. All right, bye. I'm going to Phoenix. And I was kind of down about it, but I think the Nets did get a good return. I do think that the Nets do have a future. I've been quoted as saying this Nets world has been built. And what I mean by that is with Katie, with Kyrie, James Harden, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Paul Millsap, some of the big name players that came through Brooklyn and brought that national spotlight and attention. It also brought more fans locally and nationally. And those fans aren't going away because those guys aren't here anymore. There's still a lot of people with Brooklyn Nets merch and hats and jerseys, and there's still a lot of people that still rep the Nets. So the Nets have been in Brooklyn for 10 years. This Nets world has been built, and guys like Mikal Bridges have to carry the torch. Guys like Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas have to carry the torch. A guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, who was here with the old regime, he's got to, get back to leading the way. They have some gritty guys, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Nick Claxton. And of course, the biggest question mark hovering over the team is Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons can return to form, I don't think he's going to be all-star form, but if he can at least look like the player he once was, that gives them a huge boost at the point guard position. That gives them a huge boost defensively. That gives them a player that can dunk, that can rebound, that can distribute versus a guy that can give you 5 fouls, 2 rebounds, and 2 points and can't shoot.
Well, Keith, that's all I have for you today. But is there any advice you can give me as I continue on my broadcasting journey?
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 14.
Yeah, so what I would say is in school, any opportunities that you have to do public speaking, speaking in front of the class, doing public service announcements or like PA, like the broadcast in the morning, anything that you have the opportunity to do to get over the sound of your own voice, because I mean, your 2 ears hear your voice differently than others. That's why your ears are on the side of your mouth. Like that's one thing you got to get over. And then you also got to get over like stage fright and just like the whole fear of like, public speaking and people looking at you and people listening to you. Get reps and practice like you're doing right now. Shoot your shot. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone like Keith McPherson and say, hey, can you come on my podcast? I'm 14. I admire you. I listen to your show. I'm dreaming of being in the position you're in. Just get your reps. Obviously, you got to get good grades in school. I tell people all the time, like I didn't just fall out of a tree. I played sports and I turned that into a scholarship. But there wasn't a year I had bad grades. I always did my schoolwork. You just have to. It's just part of it. So take every opportunity you have to speak and get reps. Make sure your grades are good. And when you go to college, at least right now, right? I went to college undecided. I didn't know at the time I wanted to do this, but at least like you want to major in communication, radio, television, sports broadcasting. So you're on your way, and this will help. I'm glad to do this. Hopefully this gets posted. I'll retweet it and share it, and then you'll get some other guests to come on as well. And this is the start of what you'll need when you do get to my level, or you do get out of school, or you do even get to school. You'll need a reel. You'll need something to show who you are, and what you've done.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll definitely keep that in mind. And as soon as this is posted, I'll send you a link on Instagram So hopefully you could shout me out as I continue to build my brand.
Ben, thanks for having me. Call the fan anytime. I'm on tonight. I'm on every night, Monday through Friday, and I will be on. So, I appreciate young guys like you. You guys really are who I do it for. I had no idea this many young guys listen to WFAN. And my motto is inspire or retire. And I ain't retiring. I'm just trying to inspire more young people to follow the dream and do what I do. So thanks, man. And I look forward to speaking to you.
For sure. I'll call you up this week. Thank you again for coming on. You're welcome back anytime you want. So that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Ballion, and this is the Sports Pod.